Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me in another video. So whenever I see an article talk about handbags or the direction of handbags, it always piques my interest and I like to talk about it here. I saw this article from the Business of Fashion, Luxury Fatigue Fuels an Indie Bag Boom. Great article, and a lot of interesting points expressed here are things that I've been hearing a lot in this world of handbags, in this world of luxury bags, but just a few insights that they mention here. Price hikes and complaints of declining quality at major luxury brands have lessened the interest of aspirational shoppers. Independent bag designers have stepped up to fill the void, offering solid quality at a more reasonable price point. However, they've had to get creative to stand out in a sector dominated by conglomerate-owned labels with expansive marketing budgets. Now, we've been talking about this slump in luxury fashion, and I think we've been seeing a lot of major brands, once the tried and true brands lose some steam in recent years, be it the Gucci's, the Dior's, the Saint Laurent's. You can look at the financials of these brands, but I think what a lot of brands and just the whole luxury fashion industry in general, a lot of these brands have just gone up so much in price. A lot of these products have just become so unobtainable relative to, I think, let's say pre-pandemic prices. People, I think, are really feeling it, and more people are expressing their lack of interest in some of these upper level luxury brands. I just saw a video pop up on my feed this morning from Victoria McGrath, a big, huge luxury influencer, and she was talking about this recent string of videos from Alana Davidson responding to Lydia, Elise, Millen, and how these influencers are selling off their luxury. The thumbnail was titled "No More HERMES," but she overall expresses her dissatisfaction with some of these other brands, how Saint Laurent has had price increases, which is one of her favorite brands, and then she also did note how some of their pricing did go down, so that's good. But Victoria also talks about how contemporary brands like Coach and Tory Burch have been doing really well, and how there has been this move towards contemporary. For Alana Davidson, she's doing a closet clean out and selling a lot of her major designer bags from Chanel to Bottega. She talks about how her Bottega bags, which she has loved over the years, have doubled in price. Now she's opting for more contemporary and indie brands. And, while these brands have gone up in price, we're also likely going to see, more so specific to the US, but we'll see how that trickles everywhere else. A lot of these bags are going to go up in price. A lot of these imported bags from Europe. People are really feeling the sticker shock compared to the prices of things 5 years ago. If I just think about how people used to buy bags mid to late 2010s, let's say you're buying like a Gucci Soho Disco or even Louis Vuitton canvas bags, be it the Neverfull or Speedy or Alma, these bags were hovering at or under the $1,000 price point USD. It just felt like buying into these brands were just a lot more accessible. And of course, I also think the style of the times have changed. We've talked about the popularity of the Totem tea look, or I think about La Mer croissant bags as examples of this, but it seems more brands are following this kind of direction. So I thought, why don't we go through some of the brands that are mentioned in this article? In some capacity, I've talked about some of them, but some are quite new to me. So the first brand I want to mention is Savette. It was created by the designer Amy Zurich. She was actually an accessories designer at the Row, Kate. She also worked at Coach. These bags, they're made in Italy, and they've become quite popular. I think in part because it does lean into that quiet luxury style aesthetic. A lot of these bags, they're top handle styles with that distinct signature oval hardware. A lot of them come in that east-west proportion. Again, very in fashion, very contemporary, very now. I feel like these are designers, as we'll see on this list, that were in many ways some of the minds behind some of these major luxury brands. And Savette is sold at a variety of different retailers now, from Net-a-Porter to Neiman Marcus. And the prices, I wouldn't say it's at a contemporary level like a Coach or a Michael Kors or anything like that, but I wouldn't say it's at that Gucci price point, the way Gucci has priced itself right now. It's kind of in the middle, which is where a brand like Gucci was 5 years ago. The next brand that they talk about is Metier. Now, this is a brand I actually just talked about a couple days ago. This is a brand that has gained more recognition for their travel bags. They were heavily featured on the show Succession. It's a British brand. They have a London store, but one thing I noticed with a lot of these these brands. Many of them are sold through these online or through these like multi-brand platforms, which is a path that makes sense for a lot of these emerging designers versus say like, you know, Louis Vuitton or Gucci. There's like a physical store presence. But I think Metier it's a little bit on the higher spectrum. They've compared their brand to like Celine prices with Hermes quality. Metier, they have like this very unique, distinct, like sort of diamond hardware motif. I think they make bags that look like they would be great travel bags, great work bags. They've also ventured into things like clutches. So definitely an interesting brand to talk about. Next, we've got Hunting Season on this list. Now, this is a brand I've definitely scrolled past before, but I've never actually like interacted with any of these bags, but I had to look it up from Net-a-Porter. They state Hunting Season founder and creative director Danielle Corona likens her bags to modern heirlooms. Each one is handcrafted by expert artisans using carefully sourced and long-lasting materials like metal-free leathers and centuries-old techniques passed down through generations. Don't miss the nomad and the trunk styles in our edits. So it's interesting that this brand, unlike some of these other design styles, this brand doesn't actually have any prominent hardware. And a lot of these bags, they do go under the 1,000 USD price point. The next brand I want to talk about is HERMES, and this from their website. So numbered collections that are conceptual in design and spirit. The launch collection is a reflection of a deeply intuitive gravitational pull toward the beauty found in organic, asymmetric sculptural forms. This collection was inspired by the works of Victor Passmore, Jules Olitsky, Jean Arp, and Kenji Yoshida. These bags are very unique. They have this like, again, that organic sculptural quality, very unique hardware. But another thing I found interesting is they list their production sources on their website. The handbag atelier, where they get their hardware, the leather tannery, even things like the haircraft tannery. And I will say these bags, they're not priced like some of these other brands. Like these bags are, I would say, are on like the higher side of these sort of like more indie brands. But I do think there is more of a premium level and focus on the materials in comparison to a lot of the major luxury brands. For instance, the Orb, it's made of French calfskin, sites made in Italy, suede lined. It goes for 3,200 USD. So it is quite up there. But I think at this kind of like shape, like with this level of hardware, I think probably most luxury brands would charge like these top handle bags with an added strap, probably would go for 4,000 plus, 5,000 even. But I would like to see more luxury brands provide this level of transparency as to where their bags are made and the materials are sourced. I know this is a big discussion right now, but another reason why a lot of people would opt for a brand like this, the article talks about how it feels like you're supporting an emerging designer. It feels more unique. It's something that not a lot of people are going to have. Aisha Soni, she's had experience working at Michael Kors, Ralph Lauren, Mansour Gabriel, Prenza Schooler, and now she started her own line. Another brand that the article mentions is Claire V. So I wanted to look into this brand because it's not a brand I'm familiar with, but from her website, the question in my head has always been, what bags do stylish working women want? Claire Vivier. From that question, we're building a brand dedicated to chic, functional, and fun products made by a group of kind, diligent colleagues, and along the way, lending support to the causes that we believe in. Founded in 2008, Claire V combines laid-back California style with Parisian polish. Our assortment now includes handbags, wallets, and other small leather goods, clothing, hats, fashion jewelry, and whatever else we can dream up. All of our products are thoughtfully designed and crafted to bring joy. And in the article, it actually talks about how this brand uses social media to go behind the scenes, showing how she visits factories in LA, how they source their material. It's an American brand. And I think with things like tariffs, the cost for these European luxury brands in America, they're going to go up. Hermes is already going to have a price increase May 1st. Louis Vuitton just snuck in a price increase. Of course, many of these brands are going to pass the cost along to consumers. With these kinds of policies, it's to encourage more Americans to look at American-made, American brands made in America. So next we have Little Liftner, and this is another brand I've seen pushed heavily on social media. And I think this is also something I see a lot of these brands engage in. Instead of having brick and mortar stores or hiring expensive celebrity ambassadors, they're opting for more of these fashion influencers to get more exposure. But Little Liftner, it's a lot more accessibly priced. It's a Scandinavian brand. Their bags, they're made in Italy, and they describe how their bags are made in small batches and ethically sound family-run factories. So yeah, those are the bags that they mentioned in the article. This phenomenon of new emerging indie designers offering bags that are priced in a fair way, that won't break the bank or I think there's just more transparency in terms of how some of these bags are made, which makes the price more appealing as well. But yes, it is definitely something we are seeing, and just seeing how like a lot of influencers are moving away from a lot of these like really elite luxury brands like Chanel, Hermes. There is a greater interest to promote these types of brands that aren't as extreme in pricing but still have good quality. Like for Lydia, it's Mulberry. Alana Davidson, she talks about a bag from an indie brand, Flattered. It's interesting to see this like trend happen in luxury fashion. I have yet to try out these brands. I've come really close. I will say, if I do go with an indie emerging designer, one thing that I have been more tempted by than anything is to try out Canadian brands. I've done videos on some of these Canadian brands, but at the same time, I'm also kind of just not buying as much in 2025. That's my video for today. I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining me in another one, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.